Write one word for the following. So here we can have we have got 6 descriptions. So we need to read these descriptions thoroughly and find the word which represent those descriptions, right? And we need to identify those words. So a modern motorized sledge. So what do we call the modern motorized sledge? So in the lesson we have seen that now latest motorized sledges are also made available there, which has got a bike like a handle and the ski wheels with a hooked chains which can use as a brakes and all. So what was that called? Skidoo, isn't it? Skidoo, skidoo. So skidoo is the modern motorized sledges used in Greenland. Then a spear with a long leather rope. So in the olden days, the Inuks, the primitive people, they used to hunt animals with a long stick with an arrow kind of edge and which has a long leather rope. So they can simply throw this and by pulling the rope, they can get the animals out. So what was these kinds of weapons called? Harpoon. Harpoon. Harpoon, right? So the long spear with the long leather rope is called a harpoon. National sports of Greenland. So we have discussed this also in the lesson. They love playing football. So football is the national sports of Greenland and they play it on the ice fields, right? The house built with the ice blocks. The huge ice blocks, ice cubes are cut into blocks and one above the other they keep these blocks together and make a dome kind of a house. What do we call that? Igloo, right? So the house built with ice blocks are called a igloo, right? Now the floating blocks of ice. We have seen in the lesson along the coast of Arctic Ocean, the huge ice ice caps on the land area, they can cave, they can break into pieces, fall onto this Arctic Ocean and they move and they flow into the Atlantic Ocean. Huge ice masses that float in the Atlantic Ocean. What do we call them? Yeah, they are very severe threat as far as the ships are concerned in the Atlantic Ocean. We said about Titanic. So what is that? A huge mass of ice that float in the Arctic Ocean or Antarctic Ocean called an iceberg. What is that? Iceberg. Right. The wheelless cart for conveying loads or passengers over snow or ice. Sledge. There are two pole kind of structures with the loads and the chairs on which the people can sit, pulled by either reindeer or huskies. They are called sledges. They do not have any wheels. Right? So, shall we check the answer once? The modern motorized sledges are called a skidoo. The spear with a long leather rope is called a harpoon. The national sports of Greenland is a football. The house built with ice block is called a igloo. The floating block of ice is called a iceberg. A wheelless cart for conveying loads or passengers over snow or ice is called a sledge. Clear? So modern motorized sledges are called a skidoo. The spear with a long leather rope is called a harpoon. The national sports of Greenland is called a football. The house built with ice blocks is called igloo. The floating blocks of ice are called icebergs. And a wheelless cart for conveying loads and passengers over snow or ice is called a sledge. Right? Okay. Now, I'll keep the screen the same for another minute so that you can go through these sentences once again, right? correct the following statements. Eskimos means a real man. Greenland has plenty of rainfall. Greenland is rich in natural vegetation. Greenland is poor in animal life. Nuuk is a port town of Greenland. So these 5 statements are actually taken from the text, but they are wrong. Isn't it? All the 5 statements are wrong. So what should we do now? We should correct that and write it again. Right? So first sentence, Eskimos means a real man. Eskimos, Inuks are known as the real men. Na? And Eskimos are called the eaters of a raw meat. Isn't it? Eaters of a raw meat. They do not cook meat before eating. Greenland has plenty of rainfall. Greenland has very little rainfall but plenty of snowfall. Isn't it? Yes. So Greenland has very little rainfall but plenty of snowfall. Greenland is rich in natural vegetation. Impossible, isn't it? In some of the regions of Greenland, the ice cover is for something around 2 to 3 kilometers. The thickness of ice is 2 to 3 kilometers. In the previous chapter, we have seen that in the rainforest region, the maximum height of those trees grow are 60 to 70 meters. Isn't it? Then how is it possible to have a rich natural vegetation there? During the summer season, at some regions, the ice melt and we can see the land over there and the small plants like lichens or grass. Maximum height is 15 centimeters, isn't it? So, Greenland is poor in natural vegetation, isn't it? Greenland is poor in natural vegetation because the land is covered with a thick layer of snow. Now, Greenland is poor in animal life. Again wrong. Why? Rich in animal life, isn't it? Plenty of animals are there. Different kinds of animals are there. Right? So, Greenland is rich in animal life. Nuuk is a port town of Greenland. It's not a port town, it's a capital. Isn't it? Or the biggest town. You can say the biggest town or the capital of Greenland. Right? So, Eskimos means a eater of raw meat. Greenland has very little rainfall. Greenland is poor in natural vegetation. Greenland is rich in animal life. Nuuk is a capital town or the best town. Biggest town of Greenland. Right? So, shall we check the answer once? Yes. Eskimos means eater of raw meat. Greenland has a very little rainfall. Greenland has a scarcity of natural vegetation, means very less poor in natural vegetation. Greenland is rich in animal life. Nuuk is the biggest town, it's also the capital town of Greenland. Right? So these 5 statements are wrong and these 5 statements are the right ones. When we correct these into right statements, we get this. Right? So now I'll keep this slide the same for another minute for you so that you can read these statements once again. Right? And some statements can be rectified in different ways. For example, Greenland has plenty of rainfall. So here we wrote it has very little rainfall. But the same sentence can be corrected like Greenland has plenty of snowfall. Isn't it? So you can write such kind of answers in your notebook also. Right?